At least it wasn't damaged. I still use it.
I think wait a few more minutes. I think we have a cap of, what was our cap for Discord? 50?
Yeah, it's 50.
50, and then people will have to roll over to YouTube. All right, well, it is on the hour, on the dot here. You can probably get started. Grace, if you're trying to say something, you're gonna have to type it. I'm sorry. I really can't hear you. But are we ready to roll? I think we are. Okay, cool. That's all I care about. Audio, all good to go. We can probably get started. So yeah, let's make sure everybody can talk. Adam, I know you're good to go. Yichen and Kenny, are y'all here? If you're here, say something.
Kenny. Kenny.
Kenny!
Kenny. I was looking to know what I haven't spoken to Kenny yet. I'm like, where is he?
Come
He's
on,
not in
man.
the chat.
Come on, man.
But it's like, okay, look, it's 5:01 p.m. We're like, it's 1 minute in. Maybe we're getting like, give him one more minute to join.
Gonna mark him as absent.
We were a wee bit early. I'm not gonna lie.
There you go. Thank you, Grace. Let's see. Okay, so and you don't have permission. Okay, let's give him permission. Okay. Try now. Try.
Hello, can you hear me?
Woo! We got you. Nice.
Can we not share webcams?
No, we're good. We don't have to show our face.
It's an anonymous feedback session. You just don't know who's talking. It's gonna be fun.
All you get is voices, you know. Like
Can you identify us by voice?
Like the voices in your head. Okay, come on, Kenny. Come on.
It's only 2 minutes past. Like, and he's in Toronto. Like, I'm sure it's raining there too.
I hope he didn't got taken away by the wind.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know where he is downtown.
Strong winds.
I am also in Toronto, and it is not raining, so that's not a good excuse.
So, if you get bored this weekend, I have an event on in Toronto at Dundas Square.
Wait, where?
Dundas Square. If you go to Dundas Square on Thursday or on Friday. I can tell you the date. Like, I can tell you the exact time. You will see some very cool things designed by me and my team.
Ooh.
Okay, cool.
Dundas.
Would only be on Thursday and Friday.
It is on 8 up until 8 p.m. on the 19th and 20th.
Okay.
I can. You know, I don't want to be promoting anything here, but reach out to me and I'll just Dundas Square. But yeah, it'll be fun. It was my first big activation there.
Cool.
Have we got Kenny now?
Oh no, I don't think so.
What happened to Grace?
Wait, Grace.
Grace.
Grace is having some
Technical.
technical issue. All good, all good. Yeah, Grace, you're like the thing that tries but can't. It's the anti-Thomas. It is not the little engine that.
So, how many people? How many people submitted stuff for review?
I think we got a good chunk of people. So if y'all are here and you don't see your portfolio, please keep trying. We try to be we try to diversify, you know. So we don't always get the same portfolio or review the same portfolio. So
I guess the question is as well is like, what lens do we want to be looking at this through?
that's a good question. Hopefully if the person is here, I'm gonna call them out.
Yeah.
And if not, we'll trottle on. We'll trottle on.
Yeah, we'll wing it. It's fine. We'll wing it.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. So it's so far. I want to be respectful of we have a lot to go through. So I'll get the ball rolling here, and hopefully Kenny can join us. Hopefully he's doing all right. But no worries. Hello everybody. Welcome to Design Buddies portfolio review number 6. So if you haven't seen our other 5, you should. But nonetheless, if this is your first time joining us, extra special welcome. If you're a long time follower, also always welcome. We love all of you. You wanted to know a little bit more about us, you know, as always, we try to connect and support designers from all places, right? And all backgrounds. We do mentorship, we do events such as this one. We have clubs, we have portfolio reviews, obviously, like the one we're doing right now. Resources and more, right? We have channels for days. We have over 20,000 members globally and growing. So tell your friends, you know, tell them they're missing out, they're not already here. And as mentioned before, we host events, including panels and events with industry leaders. So always stay connected with us. We always have something fun and exciting going on. And some house rules, you know, portfolio reviews. They're a little special event. They are recorded, and by attending, you are granting us consent to be here. So just something to be aware of. If you don't want to be part of that, it's okay. Just catch us later on YouTube. We always try to record and upload in our YouTube. And please do engage via the chat. We love a good chat. That way we can keep showing examples, have discussions, and send you links. And share that knowledge, you know. And keep promoting, keep promotional stuff on the DL as well. We don't have a networking sheet, but if you want to network with people, please feel free to do so. Just be respectful that they do want to connect with you. And then share any takeaways that you learn here in social media, right? Tag us. We love to reshare you. And again, feedback is not meant to be taken personal. It's just feedback. It's meant to be a learning experience. It's meant to be taken with a grain of salt. Everybody has their own perspective and their own view, and we're just trying to have a discussion here on, or at least give you actionable things to think about, right? These are things to, after today, it's like, okay, I'm hearing this constantly, maybe I should change it, or it is a best practice, I should change it. Or, you know, it's totally okay, I disagree, and that you do you, right? And as always, have fun, be respectful. We're here to have a wholesome, fun time. And if I totally forgot, but if you don't know me, I'm Maggie. I'm one of the mentors, admins, you name it. I'm too involved in design buddies. But welcome. If you've been a long time listener, you probably have heard my voice or seen my face in some of the events. So I'll let our panelists slash mentors introduce themselves, but we have some amazing people join us tonight. I'll popcorn to Adam.
Hey, I'm Adam. This is my first event other than doing an Ask Me Anything with Design Buddies. I'm really happy to be here. I'm based in Vancouver. I'm the head of creative for Best Buy Canada. My background's mostly in design, but I also lead video and copy as well at Best Buy Canada. So, when we first started talking on this event today, we were like, what lens we want to look at portfolios through. So the different types of lenses I can offer is also development, design, UI, UX, and also, in terms of, and if you have any video, I can also give feedback on that too. So, I've just posted my LinkedIn in the chat. Feel free to connect with me if you have any other questions outside of this event as well. And I don't know if Kenny's here. Is he here? I don't know who I can popcorn it to.
Can go next.
Yes.
My name is Yichen. I am a design lead at VMware. My experience has been wholly in enterprise UX design, so that is almost the only lens that I can look through, but luckily it's not just enterprise, general UX is fine as well. I have been in UX for just about 7 years now. As I said, mostly working with enterprise companies, but I've had small stints in the startup world as well as corporate banking. That's basically it for me.
Sweet.
Don't know if Kenny's here yet.
I don't know if we're gonna get Kenny. Hopefully he's doing all right. Sometimes stuff happens, so we can't control it. We can't control. But yes, thank you both of you for now. Thank you for swinging by. Now I'm just gonna meant to be fairly casual. We have our first portfolio here, and I dropped it in the chat if anybody wants to follow along. We have Natasha here, and it looks like UX and product. So again, kind of quick recap. I'll kind of scroll through their portfolio. I'll be more of more moderating, hosting, and y'all can tell me where to go, right? I'll provide my own. Kenny's here. Kenny, introduce yourself. Can you... Kenny, can you unmute yourself and do like a quick intro? We're so excited to have you.
Well,
Technical problems.
There's a lot of microphone technical problems today.
Oh, Kenny, where are you?
I got to say that this landing image is awesome because it shows the human side of, who basically made this portfolio, which is great. That's something which is always going to be really important when in branding is humanizing it. You're not just a name and a style of design, you are a human being, and it's great to see people, real photography of real people.
Absolutely. Let's just jump right into the human being. Okay, so I will do a quick scroll. Looks like Natasha doesn't have they only have 2 here. If any of you have a preference on which one to go to, let me know. But otherwise, this is their landing page.
yeah.
First impressions.
So one of the things I always say in these is that almost always I click on the very first project, unless the second project looks like incredible. I might open it in a new tab, but I always evaluate a portfolio. Like my first impression is the first project I see. So unless you have some special exception, you should always put your best project first, like the one that you want to make sure people see.
I agree.
3.
Like, I'll be honest, I do the same thing when I'm being sent a portfolio. I've got maybe a minute to look through it, which is the reality. If I've got like lots of portfolios to go through, so that title, I was reading what you wrote in that header, and then the first case study is going to be probably the 2 most important things.
Mhm. I agree. All right, let's. Any other comments on their landing page at all before I jump in here?
I have one. When we're scrolling down, you can see the links in the top. They are just what they're doing is essentially they're going over some of the content. So you might want to add a background color so when it's fixed at the top, but it doesn't interact and go over some of the core content.
I agree. Sometimes adding some sort of sticky or some background blur too helps.
Yeah.
Just again, something to kind of help differentiate the foreground there. I also nitpicking, just a personal thing. I wish there was a little bit more spacing or padding in these bottom links as well. They're really tight towards the bottom, but that's just me kind of nitpicking. Otherwise, I think this is a fairly straightforward landing page, and if nothing else, we can probably jump into one of the projects. Aha. Oh, okay.
Ooh,
We got some.
That was really cool.
I
I like
that is
that.
cool.
I do think the text is a little bit hard to read, especially when you scroll it a little bit.
Yes.
But I thought this is pretty neat.
That was
10
that was
points to Gryffindor for that perspective. That's badass. I want that.
Yeah.
I think
love
even
it.
even if it had this kind of background on it, I think it would help it be a bit more readable. Like what Megs has done here, which highlights it and has that background, then you can guarantee someone can read it. Maybe not these colors, but versus without that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Some sort of just, ease on the eye so that it's easier to read, and you can background and foreground, it's important. Because otherwise it becomes a little bit daunting and overwhelming to even there's a lot going on.
Yeah. I think the other thing, I know I mentioned it before, but with the links on the top right-hand corner, they get really lost here. And this is a really good example of why you would want to add some kind of bounding box.
Right. And I think Natasha it looks like they have a lot of good stuff. It's along the ways we may be nitpicking, but it's because, we're trying to tweak stuff that's important, right? Stuff that needs to be readable, and first impressions as well. So.
Right. The other thing as well is that, just on that note, don't feel that we know everything. This is purely subjective. A lot of this stuff. There's some stuff which is really objective. You could easily say that the padding at the bottom of the page is a very subjective thing. But we're just giving you our professional opinion.
So, for this project, my first impression of it was really good. I was really excited to see that it wasn't a conventional mobile app design.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I did struggle with, though, is near the beginning, I wasn't quite sure what the design was of, because it did say that it is a workshop series, but I wasn't quite sure if these were the resources to a workshop where a teacher would have to, they have the resources and then they host it, or if it's something that it's like a video series. And that question was answered later on, when you click on one of the videos at the bottom. But that wasn't very clear to me right off the bat. So when I first saw it, I was like, ooh, cool. What is this? And then I was kind of confused for a while. So I think even at the very beginning, where it was talking about what this project is, saying a 3-part video series where we designed a interactive workshop or something like that. Because here it says it's a workshop, but I'm like, is it a video or?
I say something controversial.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a lot of content, and I know so here's the thing. I know that when you're applying for jobs, that you really want to get across a lot of it. However, that being said, I would always save some for the interview, because if you go into all of the depth here and you've got nothing to explain in the interview, that could be problematic. I would go through this, and my initial impression would be, this is a lot of content. I'm not going to read this. That's my own personal opinion, Mo. I know that some people really go, the devil is in the details.
No, I
I think for that one, I would offer like my contrasting opinion is
Yeah.
I think especially for very junior portfolios, I appreciate it when there is a lot of content as long as it's easy to quickly scroll through and skim with good headers. Because I think for a lot of junior portfolios, a lot of them don't make it to the interview step where they get to present things. So if I feel like there isn't a single thread of continuity and there's things being skipped, I would assume that they didn't do it versus they're just not including it in their portfolio. So
That is a really good point.
because I do think that once you gain more years of experience, then it is assumed that if you don't put it in your portfolio, it's because you're trying to keep it brief. But especially if it's a personal project that did not ship, then if you don't show it in the portfolio, I assume you didn't do it.
Mm.
So that's a
Mm.
slightly different
I
point of view.
think that's
guess.
totally fair.
One of the things that we look at or mention a lot during these portfolio reviews is also making sure that your story is not overwhelming. Storytelling is an important element. And don't be afraid to integrate elements such as progressive disclosure, where you have maybe an accordion, or maybe you have some tabbing system that kind of exposes more information instead of presenting it all at once, so that it becomes a little bit easier to skim or allow people to kind of get the general idea, and if they want to dig deeper, they can. So that is one way to potentially control the amount of content that loads
So-
in a page.
Megs, if you scroll up a bit, that little section right here with the sticky notes, I actually really love this. Like when I saw this, I thought this was a really neat way to present this information because it is very standard. You're like, this is how all
Yeah.
research synthesis works. But I really like the way that this was explained with a visual. I think it's a very neat way to show it versus just dropping like a Miro page and saying like we did synthesis. Like I thought this was really well done.
I agree. I've yet to see something like this, and this is really well thought out.
Do you know what? I've got to third that one as well, because even though I'm not a big fan of the loads of content, I can see what's important here, which is super useful for people who've got an attention span of a goldfish like me. Also, on that note, I want to say that the text hierarchy is pretty awesome. Like in terms of being able to skim,
Mhm.
it's really great. So I can just I can go down the page really quickly and find the information that I'm looking for. The only thing I probably would give feedback on, there's a couple of videos which kind of get lost.
Mm.
I found that the control, the little play icon over the top of the image, doesn't really stand out on the videos that exist on this page.
Yeah,
I
like
think
this one.
it kind of looks like a little bit like an edge.
Mhm.
And there's another one a little bit further down. And I know that you don't want to autoplay stuff, but I don't want to direct too heavy, but I think you can treat this a little bit differently, even if it's with an animation or something, and then you click through into it.
Mhm. They do have Natasha seems to have a lot of animation and motion in their wheelhouse. So, this is one of those times where definitely use your strengths and your skills to help you with storytelling, right? So if and you can tell, like we see some motion here, bottom, not here, but in other areas, that is definitely a strength you can use to kind of highlight or showcase different sections as well. So definitely consider that.
Also, it's pretty rare to see this much video on a portfolio. So total props for you to put it together. Even in my day job, I don't see as much video on a single case study. So this is great. I would probably just click on them and just gain as much information as I could probably from those videos.
Mhm. All right. Well, I want to be
Yeah,
conscious of time. Oh, go.
I have one last thing I just want to say about this portfolio
Mhm.
is so I went to the about page, which
Yes.
is pretty plain. Like there's not much going on in the about page. But then I also went to this play page up top, which was chock full of content.
Yes.
And there's a lot of really good stuff here. So
Yes.
I think my personal my opinion recommendation is to be able to move some of this to the about, or at least direct them to
Mhm.
this page from the about, just in case they don't click it. because I think a lot of this it's super cool, and I think it tells a lot, like explains a lot about like Natasha as a person and like your experiences and what you enjoy, all of these things. I think that would make the about page a lot more interesting, because I fear that someone is going to skip this page, go to the about, and then just be disappointed there's no pictures. They'll skim it and then like leave. But I think there's a lot of really cool stuff there that, I don't know, somehow combining the two would be really cool.
This page is awesome.
It is.
Like,
So if
I
I was gonna say I spent some time with these videos. Natasha, there's a lot of you are a lot of personality. Please integrate that into the about page.
So I think one of the things I want to add is that after seeing this page, my whole view of the rest of the portfolio has totally changed. Like, you are an artist. You are somebody who's obviously super passionate about what you do, and you've got so much skill and talent in other places which you wouldn't necessarily put forward in terms of your case studies. I love this. I think you should integrate more of this throughout the rest of your site. You know, it's like, you don't have to be super formal when presenting your work. You know, you can integrate some of this playfulness.
Yep. 100%.
Just wanted to make sure we call that out before leaving this one, because I think
I'm glad you did, because I was about to. So either one of us had to.
Yeah. I like the collision with the little rocket and the icons. It's awesome. They're like knocking the little, it's just good. I love it. Sorry.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Listen, you have a lot of personality. You know, you have some skills here. Make sure to integrate that in the rest of your portfolio, because there's some really cool stuff happening. You don't want to leave that behind, right? That is something you bring to the table, and something that can help you stand out 100%. Any other parting words for Natasha before we jump into another portfolio?
I think overall, a lot of the advice we gave was very nitpicky, because I think generally it's quite good. Like, I don't think there's too much continuity or like low-hanging fruit in terms of the content. So, kudos.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, let's jump into our second one here that I will definitely butcher the name. Saram, maybe? So they are a digital product designer exploring interaction design and what I would think is user research. And then they have resume and a few case studies. So that is.
I love the colors.
Yeah, very simple.
I'm all about colors. Yeah.
Very simple, but it's nice.
Super eye-catching. Like, there's a theme here, and you can see, like, even when you've called out exploring, like that sentence is blue and the other, everything else on this page is very kind of thematically in the same world. It just seems really consistent. I actually love the look of this.
Kind of
It's really
interesting.
pretty.
Looking at the different titles here too. This is awesome. This is insightful. This is an in-depth case study, and this is a quick read. I think that's an interesting way to go about read me, right? Instead of your generic read more. I think that's an interesting way to kind of show that personality as well.
Which
I think
one
for
should
this
we
one,
click?
one thing,
Oops.
I wasn't sure which one I wanted to click, but I did feel that for the first one, it wasn't as deep of a case study as I hoped it would be. I actually thought the second one was a lot more detailed. So I guess that's one thing to note. Like, I think the second one was a lot deeper. But that also could be just because my experience is in enterprise, and that one's like it's a juicier problem, you might say. So just some thoughts there.
Okay, that's good call out.
So it's going to be really difficult not to click on the "This is awesome" one.
I have to. You're selling me on awesomeness. I kind of have to, right? All right.
Instantly, that left-hand menu to scroll, like to jump through, is like so useful for people like me with zero attention span.
And we're starting to see more of those, and I am hooked. I love that integration.
Yeah, I think it's great. Can we go back up to the top for a second? Because I was so busy looking at the left-hand side that I missed the top of the page.
Oh, yeah. So this is our splash image here, which is nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. One of the things which I think is missing. Oh, sorry, I'm going to get a little bit nitpicky. I would love to see movement on that top. It looks so dynamic and it's static, and it's I feel like if you have an opportunity to show motion, even if it's in one place, it should be right there.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, this was a solo passion project. Cool.
I love the fact it breaks that down. It's like, tells you how long they played around with it for, the tools, what they did. I think it's great for glanceability.
Yep.
I'm wondering, does the left-hand menu highlight? I don't think it does when you scroll down the page. That's something that I would probably integrate is a way for when you scroll through the page, so you can just see where you're at generally, because otherwise, like here, I probably wouldn't know.
Yeah, that is a good call. That I would expect some sort of indicator here. It says you're here.
One thing I really like about this portfolio is those little pinned sections. I thought that was really clever. Like if you scroll up a little, this little pin with a little thing. I saw that in some of the other projects too. I thought that was really cool. It's a really nice way to draw your attention to a little comment.
Yeah.
That's really clever.
That is very clever.
So when we click on one of those links on the left-hand side, is there a cool animation in there? Does it ease?
Yes.
Yeah, we have some nice easing.
Yeah. I'm guessing this was built in Webflow. Like, I feel like I recognize this. Or maybe I'm entirely wrong, but it feels familiar. Yeah, I think this is another good example where there's a lot of content, which is not always a bad thing. But I think even having sections like this, even having some sort of indicator like that, like how much is left, it's always good. Just to be upfront as how much scrolling you're expecting to have, but having key areas, I think that's really good.
So one thing that I would say to me is not very clear off the bat is, so all of these options on the side, I'm not really sure when they go from researching to actually designing things. Like it feels like there's a lot of things there, and I'm seeing there like storyboarding, but then storyboarding goes straight into visual design, and then that goes straight into testing. So I think to me that's a little bit unconventional in that it feels like there's a lot of stuff between those two parts, and like 90% of this was discovery work, which I think is also fine, but that's just something to call out.
When I see work like this, I'm going to be honest, I feel like a dinosaur. Like the amount that you have been the amount of effort you guys are putting into your portfolios is insane. I love it. Like when I was back in my day, 15 years ago, when I was applying for roles, it was barely anything. And this is just awesome. So, okay, pause there for a second. I love that. That's awesome. That should be existing in that kind of world at the top of the page. It's a crime there's no movement at the top of the page. When you scroll down, you have to find that movement.
So you were on the money that this was a dynamic, that it had some interactions. You were on the money.
On the money. On the money. It looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, these are fun. These are fun.
Do you know what? This makes a banking financial kind of thing pretty epically visual, which is, you've done that job really, really well.
Yeah, definitely don't build them like this, right? I have my Boreal US bank account and it looks nothing like this.
This is really cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of content. I think, yeah, kind of like going back to what Yichen said, be conscious of how you're telling your story. You don't want to present yourself like you're maybe you're jumping straight into solutions. I'm sure you can tell you've done a lot of work. Just be mindful and conscious how you tell your story and what you present and how you present it, essentially.
I do think a caveat is, in this very specific case, I think the final product is so nicely done that I would take a leap and just like interview this person to learn more about their process. Like even though there isn't too much of that like generative process of like how did you come up with the wireframes, like how did you know this is what you need, because it basically goes from like here's a lot of research, I did all of this stuff, and then here's some very beautiful designs, like what happened between that. But at the same time, I think the results look nice enough that I assume something went on in the middle, and I would be curious to find out more. So I think that's really well done.
Yeah, and it looks like they do have other projects that are a little bit more in line what we would expect to be like a very linear, which we know is never linear, but yeah. So maybe integrating that variety, it's okay. It's okay to have different types of pieces in your portfolio.
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, looks like a lot of good work. Very high fidelity, very nice. Well presented. Any parting words here for this portfolio or clicking? Okay, so typical resume over here.
On that note,
personal.
Oh.
Go ahead.
So I was gonna say, when you clicked on my resume for a second, can we go back on there for a sec?
Mhm.
I feel like you could have more fun visually with this. It's
Oh.
such a dynamic website, and then I look at the resume, and I know that you want to keep things, readable, but I think you could definitely spruce this up visually just to reflect what you're seeing on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that note too, like for the homepage,
Mhm.
this is also just a personal opinion, but like I love this little sentence at the bottom, right? It's like we can talk anything, like machine learning, startups, Squid Game. Like I want to learn a little bit more about you as a person. Like there is no about page here, right? But like, like what do you like to do outside of design? Like do you like biking? Do you like baking? Like do you have a dog? All of these things. And that's just like a personal thing because I really like learning just a little bit more, just a teaser of who the designer is. So maybe some food for thought.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary. Like I think this is a really great portfolio in general, and the work speaks for itself. But if you wanted to make it a little bit more fun,
yeah, for sure. And, those are small tweaks along the way that you can always think about. I think the bulk of the work is here. It's done, which is great. If it gets you interviews, it's a matter of tweaking, right? You can always portfolios are never done, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I agree with that statement.
Yep. Awesome work. Awesome work. All right. Let's jump here. Next up we have Bonnie, and Bonnie is using Notion, which I know is a up and coming trend. So this should be an interesting one. How do you connect like essentially different documents to create a portfolio? Proud mother of 2 squishmallows.
I also own a squishmallow.
There
I
you
have
go.
What
a
is a
lion. His name is
squishmallow?
Francis.
I'm googling squishmallows. Squishmallows. Oh,
Wait,
them things, they're cute.
I could probably turn on my camera and show you guys the squishmallow. Oh no, I can't. Never mind. It's okay.
just drop a picture in the chat.
I love how clean that is, just in terms of like,
Mm-hmm.
it's great that you've added a bit of personality with yourself. It's just clean. It's nice.
Yeah,
I can navigate it easy.
and Notion will kind of force you to do that, to be honest.
So I haven't used Notion, so I'm like, oh.
Yes. I do like that they call out, hey, this is a feature. Like, look at me. Like, this is the one. So that's good. That's a good call out.
Ooh. But that being said,
Mhm.
the redesign of the alcohol recovery experience looks the most visually appealing to me, and that's one I would probably click.
Yeah.
It's just dark and blue. It's so contrasting against the rest of the white site that I'd probably want to click on that one just because it's the thing which it stands out the most. Even though you have put featured there,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like this blends with a page.
Yeah, and
That stands out.
that's one of the things I do. This is one of the things that I personally do. And again, this is a personal preference, but I do like to call out even like tags as to, hey, this is exactly what you're gonna commit yourself if you open this thing. I think that's a good way to kind of present the audience an option. Is like, hey, I don't, before you commit, before you click, here's the rundown. So I'm always a fan of like tags.
Yeah, I think the caveat on that is it's only useful if your tags are going to be different. Like if your 4 projects are all the same, then there's no point of putting the tags on. But if they are distinctively different, then it's very helpful.
Absolutely. All right. With that said, I want to follow Adams, and now I kind of want to click on this.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Sorry, I like that.
that's the trick here, where this is a preview. This is a Notion thing. But if you click here, it takes you to the actual case study, which is on Behance.
Oh, so it took us away from the site, eh?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, that's a spicy subject. I'm not a fan of it personally.
Yeah. Hang on. Oof. Sorry. Yeah. So bear with me. This is an image, right?
It is.
Okay. So pet peeve of mine, text as image.
Mhm.
I can't copy and paste something and send it to my colleague.
Yep.
So having it as a one image, I would say that I would always want to have something as an actual site,
Mhm.
because I have to copy the whole big page, which isn't cool.
Yep.
But I love the design of this.
You also run into potential loading problems as well.
Yeah. But and as it's an image, I can't click through to anything. There's no interactivity here. There's no chance for having any video or animation. I feel like you've obviously got a bunch of cool design skills here, but I feel like the fact that this is taking you to a Behance page and it's just an image is going to potentially let you down.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've obviously got design skills here, like visual design skills, which I imagine you could do something really, really cool with this content. I love the stars.
Yeah, I do appreciate pulling the designs that are being used in the interface to also tell the story. I think that's always a nice way to kind of pair everything together, kind of like a little bow on top of everything. I think the caveat with that is gotta be careful that people don't confuse it with the actual UI.
Mm. Yeah, because you like, I probably on a busy day I wouldn't look at the fact that I've moved on to a Behance page and I'll get quite frustrated if I can't click any of the buttons which are living in there.
Let's try that. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, that was it.
Okay. I was gonna say let's try the other one. I'm hoping that it's a Notion. Let's see. I keep doing that. Okay, not that. No. Oh God.
No.
Are they all on Behance? Bonnie. Bonnie, why?
Bonnie, why?
Bonnie.
So do you know what? Like they look like they've belonged in a site previously, though.
Mm,
So I wonder, are these screenshots? Like I don't know how this works, right? So I'm wondering if they were screenshots of a previous site. How does it work? Because it looks really well laid out.
mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I think at the very least, with this as the starting point, it would be it's just a straightforward matter of translating it to a website.
Yeah.
One thing I will note here. So sorry if you can pause on those two things there.
Yeah.
So usually when I look at a lot of portfolio projects, I'm a stickler for content. Like I like to go deep and like pick apart all of the little things. And one thing that I did see here is that this after phase, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because right now the TCP staff is sharing their current requests directly to donors. But with this after phase, they do not share their requests. Like it feels like they are just getting stuff from the solution and they accept offers. But if they don't share their requests, how are they supposed to like know what the requests are? Like how does the solution know what the requests are? So I think those are just some thoughts I had when I saw this, and I don't think that question for me was answered as I read through the whole entire case, where it still felt like TCP staff or like the end donor still needs to like tell the solution what they need. So just some 2 cents there.
Wow, very short turnaround, only 3 months.
So hang on, are we using the same screenshot in 2 places there? No, go down a bit. Sorry, I see that baby. I'm seeing this baby a lot.
Oh, they might be pointing to that specific section. That's what I'm getting out of it. Yeah, it's a very specific section.
So there's a little bit of repetition going on. Actually, there's a lot of repetition going on when you look at it like that. That baby, I'm seeing that baby absolutely everywhere. Oh wait, visual explorations. Oh, we go down a sec. I'd like the use of like emojis here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they're cute.
I think the flow for this one is quite nice.
Yeah.
User research. Finally, I really like the titles. They're dynamic. They help kind of guide you through the story as well. They're not your typical. Here's user research. Here's visual. Like storytelling wasn't gonna cut it out. Like, I think that's a nice way to kind of provide section titles essentially.
It's very conversational.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily super formal, but that's okay because you wouldn't talk in that way when you're in an interview anyway. Well, I'd hope not. But when you're talking like this and being more human, then I can attach a personality to your work.
Yeah, and it just gets you away from being perceived as this is a checklist of process that I did as well. Yeah, but I do appreciate how at least the case studies laid out. So something to think about.
Oh,
Maybe transferring over your design.
but
You can
wait.
pause this animation here. I also have a nitpicky thing here.
Okay.
It is so right before this we talk about changing to these request groups. So it's this concept that now for bottles it's going to be like the different sizes of bottles. But then I see here that you actually didn't update this prototype to reflect that. Like when you click bottles, it's showing like these gates at the bottom. Like the content isn't updating to reflect that. And I think usually I probably wouldn't catch that because that's such a small detail for like a moving prototype. But it's because I was specifically looking for that because that was what you talked about, like leading up to this, is the whole concept that you now want to group these like same types of items together. But then I see that you didn't update the actual prototype with that. So I think that's like a very nitpicky thing that it would be a lot more helpful if you were actually to show the design for that here.
I just saw a question in the chat, sorry, and it says, what's the best medium for a design portfolio? Is a PDF okay? Can I once again add a controversial statement and say, I only have a PDF portfolio currently.
A lot of people do.
So it's a weird one because my background's purely in digital. But because I can't really show any of the work I've done, it's easier for me to have a PDF portfolio and ship it around to the right people rather than put anything online.
Yep.
So whoever wrote that question, I would say, put something online. Just something. It could be really anything. But if it's a pure visual design portfolio, PDF's totally fine.
Yeah. Brian, I know you're in the chat, and I know you've mentioned this before that you keep like this long list of slides that you just pull in whenever you're putting together. But yep. So keeping slides and just pulling them in and exporting whatever makes sense for your interview or sending them over to a recruiter is totally acceptable.
Yeah, I think that's like going back to the point where I think it's different depending on what type of role you're going for. I think the more junior you are, the more expectations there are for you to have a decent website portfolio because everyone you are competing against also has that. I think the more years of experience you have, the more trust there is in that you're probably pretty decent if you worked all these years, and therefore you're likely to get that chance in an interview. And then when you're actually presenting in an interview, a slide deck is the best way to present something. So you might be able to kind of skip the step of a website portfolio. But I would say that if you are starting out looking for like a junior entry role, it is doing yourself a disservice to not try to make a website, even if it's like a free website builder or something like that.
Can I also be a little bit controversial again? Sorry.
Sure.
So I agree. I think that a website when you're starting out is super useful. That being said, PDFs get passed around corporate really easily. So, a good example is that if you're on a VPN or whatever and you're working from home, working for a corporate company, sometimes your site won't work. That's just is how it is. So I can't view certain websites on my VPN at work, right? So having something, even if it's a resume or a PDF portfolio, which just encapsulates who you are, enough for me to go, oh, okay, I will check your website out when I'm disconnected from my VPN or whatever, and I can pass this over to my boss and they can take a quick look, because that's, the day-to-day. When it comes down to big companies as well, you want to be in a position where you can share stuff. It's good to have both, is all I want to write. Like, all I really want to say on that one. So I've been using a PDF portfolio mostly for like nearly 10 years now. And I have had websites which go into lots of depth. I'm just saying there's a 50-50 here.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons.
I definitely second that you should really have both, because they're for different purposes. Like a website will do poorly for a presentation, and a PDF will do poorly for a low context pass of your work. So, the right tool for the right job.
Agreed.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little disappointing.
No. What happens when you go in Let's Chat, though? So About Me just highlights that I'm a product designer. Is that right?
Yeah. And resume takes you to a PDF. Okay, that's fine. Let's chat. Okay. The About Me was a little misleading, but I'll live. All good. But yes, I do agree that I think it's becoming a little bit more common to have some sort of online presence, and it's totally fine to have a PDF. I think as long as you can find a way to present your work, I think that's the important thing, regardless of your situation, right? I think context is really important. But yeah, use the free tools that you can. Use as many free tools as possibly as you can. All right. Let's jump in here to our last one. I know crunching on time here, but last but not least, we have Sydney Cooling Sturgis. That's an interesting name. I have some notion, nature fanatic. Oh, it changes. Human loving extrovert. Based on Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Toronto.
Toronto.
Can we play around with the balls? I want to see what happens.
Can you? Oh, they just get bigger.
So do they just get bigger until infinity? No, they stop.
No, they have a stopping point right there. Right, that's as big as they'll get.
So I like it. It's simple. I like the fact that you've brought that branding into your name on the top left-hand corner as well, with that little yellow dot. I like it. And the fav icon is also animating, which is like now my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
Does
That's really fun.
Yeah, that's where it's at for me. I didn't know you could animate fav icons.
You
Now I
could
know.
do that today. I learned.
Today, 15 years into my career, I learned you can animate fav icons.
Man, you really can learn something every day, huh?
Yeah, and it came from Toronto.
There you go.
Habit Factory Space.
All right. Okay, so we have an About Me right off the gate. That's interesting.
I love this because I don't want to read that much text, and I can read the bits which matter to me because they're highlighted, which is so efficient.
Yeah.
Bit curious on that font though. Like, I don't know if it's my screen, but the font looks a little bit
wonky.
Skew-iffy. Yeah, wonky is the word.
Yeah,
Wonky is the word.
it's what is this font? I always forget the name. Not great with fonts, but
Is the font called Wonky? Wonky.ttf.
Good question. It's one of those special fonts, I would say.
I that's my only real criticism at this point, is that font looks a little bit wonky.
Yeah, for me, I would say like for the about me, like when I was looking at this portfolio, I like the highlighting as well, but it felt like it was more scattered in the sense that I couldn't tell what specifically they were trying to get at. It's like it's very well rounded, but it's almost so well rounded that I can't tell what they're trying to get at.
Oh, hey, Kenny.
Hello.
Hi, coming in
Yeah.
last second. Kenny, everybody. Yeah, okay, so let's see. What do we got here? We got 1, 2 case studies. Okay, nice images. Let's jump into the first one. Design for Bumble. Okay, alright. I wish there was a little bit more spacing in between these. They give me a little bit of claustrophobia personally.
I'll second that. Yeah, I think a little bit spacing would visually.
Yeah, I need some visual separation there.
I like the fact that
Yeah.
I really like the fact that the frame of the phones is in the yellow too. Sorry, I'm a big fan of the branding here.
Oh,
I will remember this.
was I in a weird? I must have been in a weird sizing. Okay. See, this is better, but then if
Oh yeah, that's way better. Yeah.
if I scrunch, not so much.
Ah, interesting.
Okay. Things to
Yeah,
consider.
that looks way better.
Yeah, agreed. I always appreciate the nice hero images with a little bit of preview of what we're getting, so that's good.
I kind of wanna once again. You had something you can play around with on your homepage, and that looks a bit cover flowy. I want to play with it. I really just love the interactivity on my homepage and something playful. And that stuck with me, and I continue to want to see that through people's sites.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen a lot of motion tonight, more so than I've seen in a while, to be honest. And again, if that's a strength of yours, I think definitely leverage that in your portfolio and your storytelling.
It definitely sticks out, like compared to just more flat. But
Mhm.
I have seen, I think, one portfolio once where there was so much motion, I actually got motion sick. But
Can you send it to me? I want to get motion sick looking at it.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, wasn't that in our last review? I think so.
maybe it was one of it had a lot of like 3D shapes, and it was like the main loading page for the portfolio as it loaded up, and it was just like a lot of spinning around, so to speak.
Yes, Andres told me to stop because I was driving him crazy. I remember that. That's funny. Yeah, so be super conscious about driving people insane as well. So subtle motion, not super distracting. Yeah, I think I agree. I would try to find another font that's a little bit more legible for longer text. I think for titles and headers is probably fine to have a little bit of wonky or funky text because it's still readable. But when it comes to more long text form, I would say try to stick with a little bit more conventional.
So there's tools you can use online for font pairing as well. So you don't necessarily have to use the same font for the, like as you're mentioning, for the title and in the body, and you can also mix things up between serifs, serifs and serifs as well.
Yeah.
I like the fact there's the awards section here. I
Yes.
do like that.
I love
This is
it.
nice.
This is nice.
We ooh,
Oh.
ooh, we
Oh.
broke it. We broke it.
Oh no.
There was definitely a lot of like the typical sections in this one where you would see in like a case study. Like I would say like that was the biggest thing for me, was just it still felt very templatey and a bit more like a checklist. There was definitely good information, but it was very buried, and I couldn't really get much out of it in a quick glimpse.
Mm-hmm. Also, side note, watch out with readability. Like, I feel like the contrast in this is probably not up to standards. So, any image you present, make sure it has some intent and that is easy to read and understand, right? Never throw images just for the sake of throwing images. I think that hurts with SEO and loading and all the web goodness that you need to reach out.
deeply.
Something I do like the way she presented a lot of these as questions. Like, why did I do this? How did this impact?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty nice. It made it pretty easy to scan.
Yeah.
As I'm moving down really quickly.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I think they have the typical header right here, but I think even like the secondary posting them as questions is another good way to keep the storytelling and the distinction of what each area is going to introduce going.
One of the things I just saw with this, I have to call it out, I'm really sorry, was the arrows on the animated arrows,
Yeah.
which they're not aligned to the path they're going down. So in an ideal world, you would want the arrows to also kind of follow the path of the arrowhead going in that direction. They're all kind of pointing either up or down, which just kind of looks a bit blocky.
Sure. I would say even
That-
the GIF itself is a little how do you say, grainy. At least it is on my screen.
I do like the fact that the individual sections have got an alt color. That was nice.
Mm.
It helps break up the content.
Yep.
So you kind of get that gray gradient. So you know
Yeah.
you're leaving one place and coming into another.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
this one here, the yellow text, when I saw it, I was like, oh no,
Oof.
the yellow. I think I get it. It's because it's the theme colors, but text should almost never be yellow usually. So
I agree. Be
Just-
careful. Too much theming, I would say. That's that line, that fine line.
There are some tips and tricks that you can use if you still want to use yellow. What you do is like you essentially make it more of a brown, but then you put a background behind it that's still the theme color.
Mhm.
And so you end up like showing more of the yellow, but you'll still pass like accessibility contrast essentially.
Right.
thing for those ones specifically is did they zoom in, Megs? If you scroll up like the
1 meter scroll. Okay.
those ones, I don't
Yeah.
think they zoom in. Like I was
Oh.
trying to read them and I was struggling reading these guys. I think it's because it's in a carousel.
It is.
Because the other ones do zoom, but like for this specific one, I was actually trying to read it and I was struggling to do so. So
Yeah.
the call out.
Yeah. Depending on what you use, another trick to this is finding a light box that has some sort of carousel integration. That way, remember anything that has text and is an image, make sure to allow for us to kind of zoom in and kind of make sure that we're able to read. I'm not even like eye impaired or like sight impaired or anything, but I like to zoom in because I don't like squinting. So, is again be considerate of your audience essentially.
I like squinting. It's one
No,
of my favorite things.
no. Trying to keep these crow lines at bay, you know.
Yeah, I know. Like I've got all the floaters now, and I've like my glasses keep on getting thicker and thicker and thicker every year. This is really well laid out. I also like the fact you can jump to the summary straight away if you are like me and have a very, very, very short attention span.
Yeah, I think pay attention to. I think we're nitpicking, but it's because you do have a lot of good content, but kind of like small little details like that really stand out. It's like you can tell you have some visual chops, but taking care of like details like don't put that in the image or make sure you crop it correctly so that it looks nice. So right now that long line is so distracting.
Of these screenshots.
Mm-hmm. But I do think this is good, right? Having some sort of description of what I'm looking at. I think that's really good.
So I think my only gripe with that is that that's also not selectable text, right?
Mm.
Naughty, naughty.
Naughty.
Sorry. If you have any text on a website,
Mhm.
I believe you should be able to select it. Also, it's really good for SEO unless you've got really good alt tags, which I know for a fact you have not typed all that out into an alt tag.
Yeah.
And if you have, I will eat a hat. It may be a chocolate hat, but I will eat a hat.
Yeah. Oh man, there's like this huge section on evaluation. I don't know. I haven't read through this, but I wonder if you can like cut a little bit of off, or how much value that brings. Again, just kind of making a big assumption here, but
Yeah, no, I think having that section is different. It's almost like you maybe get to show the impact of your design, which is not a lot of portfolios are able to do that. And in their defense, like a lot of portfolio projects aren't also able to be launched. So I think this does make it stand out. But one comment I was waiting for maybe towards the end part of this was what stood out to me was I think when I was reading this portfolio, it almost felt like the main branding they were trying to come up with was UX research. It's almost like they want to spin themselves more as a UX researcher. But when I went through the actual case study, it was actually more of a UX designer case study, where it focused a lot more on the design rather than maybe the research methodology. I mean, they do explain like, oh, why do I do this? But that was just something that stood out to me.
gotcha. Any parting words here for our friend Sydney?
I like it. Oh, they changed colours, have they?
Oh, okay. All
They're in
right.
red.
Oh, okay. Maybe. Oh man, I want to see those colors, but in the front page. You know, they're all. Are they generated? Oh.
Yeah. I think so.
Oh.
I have feedback about the colours. So these colours scream Google to me. But I think they are very close to Google colours. Just be careful. People might think you work for Google.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think my overall impression of the project was I really liked it. I thought it was really well done.
Ooh,
Okay.
what are with these circles? Hang on. Why isn't this on the homepage? I kind of want to know this.
I would almost. I'm sorry. I would almost take all this out, shove it in here, and bring this to the front. I don't know.
Sydney-
Personal opinion.
Like the sun, I want to brighten up your day. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
You have brightened up my day with that one statement. That should be on the homepage. See, this is humanizing stuff. It's awesome. And do you know what? Like the pulsing sun and the fab icon. That should, if you have enough pixels, you should totally add the lines out and make it into a sun because it's cute.
Here you go.
I think I'm ENFJ too. I think.
I almost would have wanted to see like what's with the circles like on the front page. Like that would have been nice.
Take all of this, put it in the about, and then bring the circle definition in here. That's my personal opinion.
Nature. I do like these, they say, Matt, because like some of them are personal, like nature fanatic, human loving extrovert. I think they're nice though. I think they could also. Yeah, I think they're nice.
They're nice. I just feel like in a landing page they may distract from the main purpose.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Any final parting words? I know we're a bit over time, but I always appreciate everybody in here. Mentors, do you have any parting words for everybody, or for Sydney, or for anything at all?
One thing I'd like to note is that I think all 4 of the portfolios we went through today are really good portfolios. Like when we were picking through them, I thought they were well done. So, kudos to the people we were looking at.
Agreed.
I got to second that as well. Just here's the thing: putting yourself out there is really difficult. So the fact that you've submitted your portfolio and you're like really open to feedback is something which is awesome. And it's the right mentality if you want to do well in this career. It really is. So congrats to everybody who's submitted their portfolios. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for enlightening us with your work and your design.
Once again, you steal my thunder. Those were my parting words.
Oh no, Meg.
Copy paste. There you go.
Copy paste.
Copy paste.
No, absolutely, kind of following through with what Adam said, totally piggybacking. Thank you everybody who if you submit it, if we didn't get to you, it's all right. We have a feedback channel. Please do submit through there. And look for these opportunities. Everybody's doing more of these. Or if, keep trying. Keep trying. I'm sure we'll try to get to you at some point. Or try to grab some time with some lovely mentors that we have, or through other mediums that we have collaborated with before, right? We have a lot of communities. So, with that said, thank you everybody once again. This is a process. Portfolios are never done, so never be too hard with yourself. Try to get as much feedback as you can. Take it with a grain of salt. Do a lot of self-reflection, and remember, you just need a portfolio that gets you an interview, and you can kick some butt after that. You just need to get the one yes. So keep throttling. Remember to break everything into small steps, and stay tuned for more events. We do plenty of these. We do plenty of other panel types, and we also host like little workshops and collaboration sessions. So keep an eye out. And with that said, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. It is Monday night on my end, so enjoy the rest of your week. Have an awesome November wherever you are, and thank you for tuning in.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys.